Let's just jump right into this explainer because we absolutely need to address the massive elephant in the room. I'm talking about the crazy sell-offs we've been seeing in software and financial stocks lately. If you've been keeping an eye on the markets, you've probably noticed a trend that is making a lot of investors, frankly, sweat. And we aren't just talking about a few minor dips here. We're watching a sudden, aggressive retreat from some of the most rock-solid sectors in our entire modern economy.
So right out of the gate, we have to ask the big question. It's the exact question spooking the entire market right now and driving these double-digit collapses in major equities. There's this viral narrative spreading like wildfire, claiming that a new breed of artificial intelligence, specifically agentic AI, is going to completely upend the world as we know it. The fear is that it's going to make traditional corporate software obsolete almost overnight. People are genuinely asking, is this literally the end of the traditional tech economy?
What's really wild about this whole situation is that we aren't talking about fragile, unproven startups taking a hit. Just look at the names getting hammered. ServiceNow, Salesforce, Palo Alto, CrowdStrike, Visa, MasterCard, S&P Global. These are some of the highest quality businesses in the world. They've been absolute compounding machines for decades, and yet they are plummeting. Why? All because of widespread panic over a single new technology. It really makes you wonder, is the market reacting to a genuine existential threat, or are we just witnessing pure, unfiltered panic? Let's break this down. Section 1, the threat, understanding agentic AI. To really grasp the panic, we've got to define this supposed monster under the bed that sparked all the fear in the first place. We need to look at what this tech actually does, not just what the rumor mill claims it does. So the panic kicked into high gear recently with the launch of tools like Claude Cowork. Now, unlike earlier AI models that were basically just really smart chatbots, agentic AI is built to take action. It can autonomously read and write files on your computer. It can pull real-time data from financial heavyweights like Bloomberg or FactSet, synthesize reports, screen resumes, and even build complex Excel models completely on its own, literally in seconds. When investors saw that, they were terrified. Their logic was pretty straightforward. If an AI can do all of this for $50 a month, why on earth would any company keep paying massive subscription fees to software giants? But that line of thinking brilliantly illustrates the absurdity of the market's logic right now. Think about it this way. Inventing the microwave didn't destroy fine dining restaurants, right? Inventing home alarms didn't defund the police. It's the exact same thing in the corporate world. Sure, tools like Claude Code Security can scan a database and automatically patch some routine bugs, but that absolutely does not mean it can protect a live, massive enterprise environment from active hackers or stop ransomware in real time. You still need dedicated, heavily engineered platforms like CrowdStrike or Palo Alto for that heavy lifting. But the fear didn't just stop with software. It bled right into the financial sector. Take the viral Citrini report, which took this fear to absolute doomsday levels. They mapped out this step-by-step scenario predicting that AI agents are soon going to do literally all of our consumer shopping for us. The idea is these agents automatically scour the web for the absolute cheapest prices, totally crush corporate margins, and then route all the payments through stablecoins. The grand conclusion? Visa and MasterCard are entirely bypassed. Just poof, obsolete. But come on, this doomsday scenario completely ignores reality. It totally ignores the 60 years of built-in trust, advanced fraud detection, dispute resolution, and the massive compliance infrastructure that Visa and MasterCard provide. You simply cannot replicate all of that overnight with stablecoins and a few shopping bots. Which brings us to Section 2, the reality pivot, the productivity mirage. Here's the absolute crucial point for this explainer. We have to separate this catastrophic end-of-the-world narrative from what's actually happening in real-world deployments. What happens when companies actually try to deploy these AI replacements in the wild? Well, the expectation is total utopia, right? AI generates code and finishes tasks in seconds. But the reality? Vastly different. Just look at a rigorous, randomized controlled trial done by Metra, a research institute out in Berkeley. They found that 16 experienced open-source developers actually took 19% longer to complete coding tasks when they used AI tools. Why? Well, because even though AI generates the code super fast, human review capacity stays totally flat. You still need an expert human sitting there to read, verify, and test every line of that output. And that creates a massive bottleneck that basically evaporates all those initial productivity gains. And honestly, the data gets even more revealing from there, 7.2%. That specific number represents the drop in system stability, along with a 1.5% dip in delivery speed that Google actually found for every 25% increase in AI adoption within certain workflows. It's solid proof that human review is still absolutely vital if you want to prevent inaccuracies and those famous AI hallucinations. If you just let the AI run wild without a human looking over its shoulder, your system stability just plummets.
So let's move on to Section 3, corporate regret and quiet rehiring. Let's look at the aftermath because it's turning into a pretty embarrassing reality for the companies that fully bought into the AI hype and jumped the gun. The rush to automate has caused some serious operational blowback. Take Klarna, for example. They made massive headlines by replacing 700 employees with AI. But what actually happened? Quality declined, customers started complaining, and they had to quietly go back and rehire human beings. Or look at IBM. They laid off 8,000 HR workers to bring in an AI bot. The problem? The bot completely lacked the empathy and subjectivity you kind of need for human resources, forcing IBM to bring humans right back. So now we're seeing this massive wave of quiet rehiring sweeping across the corporate landscape.
And we aren't just talking about a couple of isolated slip-ups here. Backed by data and predictions from heavy-hitter research firms like Techspert and Forrester, a staggering 55% of companies that executed AI-driven layoffs now actively regret it. Over half. The hard data proves that this whole narrative of AI permanently replacing millions of white-collar workers is just crumbling the second it meets actual corporate execution. Don't get me wrong, AI is an incredible tool to augment what human workers do. But as a wholesale replacement, it's proving to be disastrous.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. What about the recent anemic job numbers? Some people point to those as rock-solid proof that AI really is taking over. And it's true, job growth has been incredibly weak lately. Only 181,000 new jobs recently compared to 1.4 million previously. But when you zoom out and look at the actual macro data, the weakest job growth since COVID wasn't caused by AI taking everyone's jobs. It was actually driven by three highly specific economic headwinds: trade policy uncertainty because of tariffs, a sudden immigration collapse that shrank the labor supply, and massive federal government cuts. Basically, companies are using AI as a really convenient PR excuse for layoffs, but the true macroeconomic drivers are completely different.
Okay, let's head into our final part, Section 4, historical market parallels. To really wrap our heads around this moment for this explainer, we have to zoom out a bit. We have to realize that markets are predictably and honestly, often hilariously short-sighted. We've absolutely been here before. Rewind the clock just 7 years. Remember the irrational market panic when the IMF predicted the worst recession since the Great Depression? The current sell-off is the exact same flavor of hysterical narrative. Back then, the market was absolutely certain that commercial real estate was dead forever, banks were all going to collapse, and companies like Zoom and Peloton were going to rule the New World Order. But look at how things actually played out in reality. Real estate and banks recovered heavily, while those pandemic darlings, Zoom and Peloton, completely collapsed. The market completely, 100% misjudged the long-term reality.
And that brings us to a really fantastic piece of wisdom from the late, great Charlie Munger. He said, "The reason we are so rich is because people are so often wrong." I love that because it brilliantly summarizes why this current panic isn't the end of the tech world. It's just a classic demonstration of market short-sightedness. We're in an environment that predictably separates fearful sellers from long-term compounding fundamentals. When truly great companies with massive moats go on sale just because of some overblown science fiction narrative, the investors who understand the gap between that narrative and reality are the ones who come out on top.
So I'm going to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on the next time a viral article claims new technology is going to end the economy as we know it. Are you falling for the narrative gap? Because the space between what a technology can supposedly do in a perfectly controlled 5-minute demo and the messy, human-centric reality of actual corporate deployment, that space is massive. Keep your eyes on the hard data, not the panic. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and we'll see you next time.